Two-time Hall of Fame inductees, Brent Godarzi and Marty Young. Back-to-back #1 trucking firm in the nation. Back-to-back best attorney and best law firm in East Texas.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Gilmer Buckeyes Coaching Show. I'm Todd Robinson with the head coach and athletic director of the Gilmer Buckeyes, Mr. Alan Metzel. Alan coming off a 51-7 district victory against the Liberty Ilo Leopards, who had to go all the way to Texarkana, Texas. And it seemed to be worthwhile, as the Gilmer Buckeyes now 3-0 in district, looking for 2 more games and hopefully another district title. What did you see Friday night that you liked?
Well, I was really pleased. We knew going in, I know the score ended up getting fairly separated, which I'm okay with, but they're a talented team.
Absolutely.
They really have some really good athletes, and you saw that in the first quarter, and it was a battle, 0-0 at the end of the first quarter. It took a while to get into them. We had to get that play count up there a little bit. I think get into some of the fatigue areas for them. They had some guys that went both ways and so forth. And I felt like we stayed focused. We kept pushing and felt like once we got into them a little bit that we could have a breakthrough, and that's kind of what took place.
Well, I think 51-7 is not really reflective of the quality of team that they have.
No doubt.
Almost like the week before, Pittsburgh is probably the most physically talented 0-7 team that you're going to see out there.
No doubt.
Is it hard to keep the guys' attention? Because I know that once the game starts, especially that first drive that they had, it was like, okay, we got your attention now, but boy, that defense, black flag stood up when it was time. If there's ever a bend to don't break strategy.
It was on that drive for
It sure was.
No doubt. Well, and we bent a little more than the strategy was to bend, but they're good, and they hit a few plays, and when you get athletes in space, they're going to make plays, and they did. I was pleased with how our guys just kept rising up, though. And you saw that all the way to the end of the game when they're down there and they had to make about 6 or 7 plays inside the 10, and then we cause a fumble and run it back. So I really, especially for a Yamboree week, and we love the Yamboree. We're thrilled for our guys to be involved and so forth, but there are a lot of distractions.
Tons.
And so your schedule's all different. You've got guys that are showing animals and in various pageants and so forth, which is great. But, then on Friday, all of a sudden, you got to be focused. And I was pleased with the work that we got each day. That was good. And that, to me, that was the critical element. And then when it came time to put it on the field, they ended up doing it. And so, and then we were fortunate in a few of the plays that, we got some scores off the defense. And so that's always fun for the team. Well,
and we talked about it before of just the amount of offensive plays. The pace of the game seemed to be a Gilmer Buckeye style.
No doubt. Well, and they play faster than, like the week before, whereas Pittsburgh, that's the polar opposite of us. We're trying to play fast and get a lot of plays in. They're trying to slow the game down and get it into a crawl, but that's just a different style. And Liberty Ilo's style looks more like ours. Their offense is similar to ours, et cetera. So there's a little more familiarity, and so the pace was pretty high, and we feel comfortable in that kind of a pace, and so we played well, I felt like.
Well, before we look at the highlights, talking about it during the broadcast, it was a little bit surprising. I don't know if you as a staff were surprised that 2 quarterbacks, both guys who were obviously a little bit different in terms of their style and demeanor, but both very talented in a lot of ways. It seems like you look at that Liberty Ilo team and say, it'd be okay if they're in a different district for a couple of years.
No doubt.
Because they seem to have it coming, and Coach Davis seems to really kind of have them honing in. I look for them to go 2-3 rounds deep in the playoffs.
I wouldn't argue that at all. They're very talented. They do have 2 different quarterbacks. They've done that pretty regularly throughout this year. So, like Tommy had the defense, they had the things they had to look for when 10 was the quarterback. They had the things that they had to look for when 7 was the quarterback. And so they each have their own skill sets and plays they tend to run with one or the other. So we had to be prepared for both of them. And that provides problems. They actually have an 8th grader that's phenomenal, so quarterback as well. So they've got guys coming. They have athletes, and no doubt I wouldn't mind them being in a different district, but I'm not holding my breath. So.
One last question before we get into plays. We talked about this on the broadcast too. Texarkana is just such a different animal in terms of a school district. When you got Liberty Ilo, you've got Pleasant Grove, you've got Texas High, and that's just on the Texas side. Right across the border, you got Arkansas High, and all of those schools and kids are kind of able to go where they want at any time. Just from a coaching perspective and having to deal, I mean, Gilmer's not moving. No matter what, for the next forever, we're still going to be in that close proximity with the school sizes and have to deal with that in the school district. What are your thoughts on just Pleasant Grove and Liberty Ilo and Texas High, and obviously the quality of athletes that they have up there has always been historically phenomenal?
Oh, no doubt. You know, one of the coaches on their staff now is Trey Carson. He played for the Bengals. You know, I think they've put 6 or 7 guys in the NFL from just Liberty Ilo. So we know that when you play them, they're going to be athletic. You know, that's just the way it is. Obviously, PG has been extremely strong. TI's loaded with people. So you know whenever you play anyone up in that region that it's going to be a game because they're going to have athletes. And when you're playing opponents that can score quickly, you know, you can play well for 68 plays and they play well on 4 and they beat you.
Right.
So there's always that uneasy feeling, you know, when you go into a game with those kind of guys.
Well, let's look at some highlights of the game and some of the things that you wanted to touch on.
So here we have some of our highlights from the defense and the offense the other night. You're going to see early in the game, Liberty Ilo is moving the ball, and I felt like this was one of the important defensive plays that stopped them from getting into scoring drive. You're going to see Joe Clark and Amaro Arona come off both edges and get a sack. And not only did they get the sack, but you have a big loss of yardage there, which puts them out of field goal range. So big play for the defense, put them in a bind. Then they had to make a 4th down, you know, basically a Hail Mary type scenario, and then we get the ball back. So here we are on offense. This is in the second quarter. We had our one good drive in the first quarter and ended up fumbling. So we get down in the second quarter. You're going to see we really ran the ball well the other night. They were putting a lot of guys out on our receivers, doing a lot of 2-man, man-free, guys out of the box. And so we just put it on our running backs and our offensive line, our fullbacks, and allowed them to take over the game. And you see here Ashton Haynes, great job of bouncing it outside. I'll take a look at it from the end zone here. The O-line is very physical. Watch Amaro Arona come around, hits the linebacker right in the hole, gives him a chance to skate outside, and then he gets into the end zone.
Well, I don't know, Alan, if it's a condition of the number of men in the box. Of course it is.
Yes.
But I can tell you there's a lot of defensive coordinators that are from around the state that might see the Buckeyes in the playoffs. They're going to be looking at number 29 and number 21 and going, I'm losing sleep. That was most likely, since I've been watching Buckeye football, which goes back decades, probably the most impressive showing of pure running back talent from just 2 individuals, and there's 5 more behind them. Talk a little bit about your O-line and how they enabled that, because obviously the talent of Ashton and LaDalen, especially that came on, you know, he made a run in the third quarter, which you may have here, which is absolutely the most exciting
It was phenomenal.
run that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it just wouldn't go down.
It was That was ridiculous. Those 2 guys had quite a night, just from a running game standpoint. But how does that factor in when you get a team like Liberty Ilo that dares you to run the ball?
Well, that's the key for us. Is people say, what type of offense are you running? You're passing. We're what the opponent gives us. And so what's interesting, Joe's the stat guy, and going into Friday night's game, we had exactly 50% yardage rushing and exactly 50% yardage passing.
Could not
on
be
the
more
season.
balanced. Couldn't be more balanced.
Which is pretty crazy.
Right.
And we look to be balanced, but our balance is not, we got to run this many run plays and this many pass plays. Our balance is the ability to run or the ability to throw it, depending on what is there. And so, in a game like this, somebody may sit in the stands and go, well, why didn't you throw it? Well, they were out there in coverage, and they were giving us less men in the box. So then it's on our linemen, on our backs, to take care of it up front to where they can't stop it. Now, had Liberty Ilo made adjustments and started packing the box, then we would have thrown it more. But they didn't, and they kept saying, okay, you're going to have to run it. So we did. And
Boy, did we.
Yes, we did.
Especially Ashton and Ladalen.
Absolutely.
Wow,
Well, and even
performance.
Brandon had some big runs.
He sure did.
You know, so you had both Ashton and Ladalen with over 100 yards. Brandon had up close to 100 yards. So that when you've got three guys that are close to that century mark, you know you're getting the ball down the field pretty good. Here, and I'm moving here to a special teams because we felt like in watching some film, you see this big gap in their return team in between the hashes, and so we had a roll middle on. You know, this is one of those things that you're going to want to have for the playoffs, and so you need to get it done sometime in the year because you may not get it right. You know, you want to get it out there, and so this was we wanted to seize this opportunity. Jose makes a great kick, and you can see our guys come running to the middle that we're blocking both of their tackles or their guards to make sure that they can't recover the ball, and then our guys come in and pick up the loose ball. So that was, to me, that was a big momentum thing too.
Huge. Created an extra possession, which
Correct.
adds to the number of plays, which adds to the number of pressures that you can put on that defense to stop you. I thought that one onside kick was probably, at the end of the day, worth about 14 points on the scoreboard.
It was a big play. It was a big play, and it's a confidence thing for our guys, you know, and it's an aggressive attitude, and all of that sets a tone. And so, anyway, I was pleased to see us execute it. Great job by Josh Riley, our kicking team coach, finding that, working it, and then having it executed. So, great job on his part. So here we are down in the red zone again. You can see our running back. I believe this is Ladalen this time, Jackson, and you know, it looks easy. On that play when you're sitting in the stands. When you take a look from the end zone, there's a lot of good work going on up inside of here. So you're going to see our tackle and our guard work out. Here comes our fullback to fill for the linebacker. Backside is cutting off the nose guard, and you know they crease it. So that's what you want to take care of. When we were watching film last weekend, we felt like they were going to try and put pressure on us by rushing the passer and then also by trying to double cover Rowan and so forth. And so we talked last weekend. We said, okay, O-line, you got to crease them. And that's what they did.
Yeah, and on more than one occasion.
No doubt. Okay, so here they are back on offense. This is getting close to halftime, and so they're taking some shots towards the end zone. We get some pressure there by Derek Borda. Rowan, we got him back there in our deep safety position. And anytime you just put the ball up with him back there, there's a really good chance he's going to end up with it.
Great open field tackle there because knowing Rowan, he's looking to score on this return, and he's actually setting that up by running to the right and getting everybody to kind of flow. He's got that natural instinct, and then he goes to cut back, and here comes this guy to undercut the blocker. Otherwise,
you're right.
We thought he had days to run.
He had the sideline. I agree. It would have been. In fact, he and I were talking at halftime. We got in. I said, that one guy, because I was over there, I said, you had the whole
That's a great tackle he made, too. Absolutely.
Right. Nice job on his part. Okay, here we are down in the red zone again. Again, we're going to hand the ball to our running back and let him get in. Take a look at the different blocks. I've mentioned Amaro several times with some critical blocks on early here in the game. He gets the edge sealed for us. Rowan's blocking the safety. Got Jay Rockwell, out on the edge, taking care of the cornerback, makes for an easy run in for Ladalen.
One thing we hadn't seen a whole lot of all season that we see some now, especially Friday night, was pistol formation.
Yeah.
And pistol formation with an up back, which almost we jokingly said this is the Buckeye version of the old power I. Is that designed to put in specifically for this game, or is that part of the blocking scheme for LE?
Kind of both. I would say there's things that we want to do early in the year. There's things that we want to evolve to in mid-season. There's things that you want to get going for the playoffs. And so, we have different wrinkles tailored to who your people are and who you want to get the ball to, leverage angles and so forth. If a guy is trying to rush from outside, sometimes it's an easier block from the offset back than it is when you're the wing.
Right. Just the angle of it.
The angles, things like that. So different things that we do depending on having to do with the team we're playing, but also things we're wanting to get done for week 12, 13, we hope, down the road. So here you have Liberty Allo making another threat in the second half. They're driving down. You've got Caden Tennyson out there at corner. I've got him circled. And you're going to see him. He's watching the quarterback. He's covering his guy, but watch him drift off and drop back in and pick off the pass. He's just got some really natural instincts.
I said at the time during the broadcast, that looks like a 14-year-old Chris Boyd to me. You saw KB had that same natural instinct to know that there's no way you're throwing over here because I got this covered. But I dare you to throw it to the guy behind me because I'll float and go get it.
That's what he does.
And then athletic enough to go make the play.
No doubt. And that's huge to stop that kind of a drive down there by the goal line. Just a tremendous job on his part. He keeps getting better each week.
He does.
He really does.
As scary as that seems, he does.
He does. And he just gets more and more confident in what he's doing. So we're pretty excited about what his progression of learning is becoming. Here you are again, down close to the end zone. Now, we had gotten ourselves, they had made a call on us, and we ended up being like 3rd and 18 or something like that. We ended up cutting that in half with a pass to Ashton, and then we come back to the run again. They've got a lot of guys out in coverage. They're very spread out. You only have 5 guys in the box. Well, we have 7. And so when we've got a number advantage like that, well, then you ought to be able to go get in the end zone. And Ashton does a great job. To me, that's one of those things where you hear them say, they smell the end zone, and that's what he did there. You can see where we go out, fullback leads up on the backer, Ashton goes and puts it in the end zone.
And just as a general rule for fans during a game that are watching, Joe and I talked about this on the broadcast in the second half when things kind of got out of hand a little bit. But anytime you see a 2-deep shell, 2 safeties back there, they can only play 11. So it's simple math working from the back of the formation to the front in terms of what we always talk about, and fans ask me all the time. I saw a lot of guys at Embry, hey, what do you mean when you say pack in the box? What do you mean? So take us through that from a coaching standpoint, and what is it that Brandon sees in terms of a lot of these options, RPOs and his zone read options in terms of being able to give that football a little bit of behind the scenes from a coaching standpoint of what is that box, what is the definition, and how does that define what you're talking about before run or a pass in terms of our talent and ability and how we create advantage.
Right. Well, when you're saying in the box, you're talking about from the tackle to the tackle.
The tackle box.
Right. From our left tackle to our right tackle. And so we have 5 there, obviously guard, tackle, guard, center, guard, tackle. But then, do we have our fullback in the backfield? Do we have the fullback and the tailback? Do we have an empty set? How many do we have in our box? Well, we can have 5 with no backs, we can have 6 with 1, we have 7 with 2, whatever the numbering is. Well, when we look at their box from our tackle to tackle, how many did they have within 3 to 5 yards of the ball? And so typically you're going to have a 3 down or a 4 down, some teams even 5. Where are their linebackers? Are they up tight? Are they playing deep? Are they playing too high? Like you say, when I say too high, 2 safeties as opposed to not too high in the secondary, but too high, or are they spinning a safety down into the box to get that 8th guy in the box? So for Brandon, whatever we have, if we have 5 in there, he knows if they have 6, we're throwing it. Right. If we have 6 in there and they have 7, we're throwing it. If we have 7 and they have 8 in there, we're throwing it. We always have a pass with those runs. And so when you have, like we've had several times on these highlights, we had 7 and they have 5, well, you're going to run the ball. And that's why you end up having a game where you rush for 360 yards.
Built-in advantage of we got more guys than they did.
That's exactly right. And so you want to play to your strength, and that's not exactly rocket science. That's just, elementary.
It's just good football for sure.
It's good football. That's it. And then you got to make your play. That's what it boils down to. All right, you see Jose Hernandez here. Jose kicks for us. He punts for us. He's also a really good linebacker.
And he has a touchdown.
And that's this play right here.
Let's run it before we brag on it.
He's excited. So here he is, and he's watching. He slides down the line as they run this play. They're trying to do what's called a pop play. It's a run play. An option look like they had run several times in the game, and they show block by their inside receiver, and then he's going to slide into the opening, hoping they're going to put the ball right over the backer in his hands. Well, Jose timed it out just right, and he pitched it right into his hands, and then away he goes, rumbling, bumbling, and stumbling. Great job by the team.
That was a 5.2 second 30 yards.
There you go.
But it got to the end zone.
Yeah, and he made it in there and then kicked the extra point to add all 7 of the points on that scoring exchange. So pretty excited for Jose. It's fun when your defensive guys get in the end zone.
Absolutely, especially for him, because we don't realize how valuable he is to the Gilmer Buckeyes.
Amazing.
Not just in terms of his field goal
Right.
opportunities and an almost automatic extra point, but because on the kickoffs, his leg strength gives you options to do everything.
We put it all over the place. Yeah, from that onside you saw to high short to deep in the end zone. He's very good at hitting his locations. But on defense as well, he's the guy that gets everybody lined up. He knows exactly what all the calls are, and he gets our D linemen and linebackers all set. And just a great young man.
Yeah, and one more thing, I don't know if this is on here, but there is a kick returner in Liberty Yalo that woke up a little bit sore on Saturday morning because he thought he had one man to beat, which is the kicker, and he forgot.
It was Jose.
Our kicker is a linebacker.
Our linebacker, yeah.
That was a great hit that he put on him.
It was. He was the last guy, and he made a great tackle on him. Here's our run by LaDalen, another touchdown run. They're really selling out up inside to try and just, basically come after us with everybody. You can see how their linebackers are coming up, and they're going to try and shoot a gap. Our offensive line, we're just running inside zone. They do a great job of just getting a body on a body. Again, creased it, and then LaDalen running hard, finding the seams. I'll go to the end zone so you can see how he works his way through.
Watch this jump cut on the linebacker that he makes. It's
tremendous
just
job.
ridiculous.
Yeah, gets up inside right there. And then heads north and south. And that's the thing Dalen's really good at. He gets north and south. He doesn't waste steps. Had to put Will Blakely's play in here. Down here on the 1, they run a speed option, and Joseph Clark is right there in the face of the running back, so he's not able to grab the ball. Will comes in, scoop and score, 86, 87-yard touchdown. That's pretty exciting.
Now, right about the 50, I realized that can't be Landon Watson because Will can roll.
He can run. Will has run a 4.4 at a college campus, so he can really run, and they weren't going to catch him. We were pretty confident of that. So great job by him. Way to be opportunistic, and just glad he was in the right place at the right time, and then finished the play and added another 7 points to our score. So good game the other night. Excited about the fact that we played well against a good opponent, and hoping to carry that into our last 2 games of Phase 2.
Yeah, it almost now becomes trophy time. We talk about this was the first game of the second half of the season potentially, but really, we got senior night and lots of exciting things coming up this Friday night. Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, we know what our expectations are to circle that Week 10 calendar where we got to go back to Texarkana. Mm-hmm. And take on Pleasant Grove, who's also still undefeated and got a lot of taste in their mouth from coming here and giving up the district trophy last year.
Sure.
Just in general, from a momentum standpoint, given where we are in the season and how we just played against a really good team, kind of hard for Buckeye fans not to get excited. How do you respond as the head coach that's down here every day, knowing exactly what the pulse of this team is, exactly what the depth, the health situation, scale of 1 to 100, where do you give how you're feeling about where we are in the season right now?
Scale to 1 to 100, that's a lot of numbers for me. I would say in the mid to high 80s with an upward trajectory. How about that? Is that fair enough?
I would agree with you.
Yeah.
I would agree with you. I think probably, in Jamboree week you get asked, you get seen a lot, and it's what happens when you're parking cars in the church parking lot. Lots of people get to talk to you. And I've said that the talent level, as you saw people like LaDalen, people like Will, how many guys do you have that run 4.4 and Will plays the snaps on offense, but there's 15 guys that you can name that have that kind of physical ability. Credit to the program, but at the end of the day, very, very talented physically team. As you've pointed out so many times, there's the other half of this too, which is the between the ears part.
That's right.
I was most proud not of the 51-7 score, but of the fact that our kids, in the face of a lot of, let's call it antagonization, kept their cool and stayed very disciplined comparatively. I thought we shifted gears into playoff mode Friday night.
I feel that way. I feel like our focus, we have focal points going into a game, and the last one that we were going to really hone in on was let's take the next step. Let's take that step into that mode of like we're in the playoffs, the one and done mindset. And I felt like they did, and we want to continue that through this week into week 10. We know going to Pleasant Grove, we know they have a program, they are established, they have, they've been to state championships, that sort of thing. So we know we'll have to play our best, but you wouldn't want anything less. And so we want to continue on this mindset. We want to continue to grind, to be mentally tough. And when you say, how do you feel about people being excited? I'm thrilled, and I want them to be excited. I think they should be excited, and let's just keep this thing rolling. Take it a week at a time. Well, it's trophy time after this next week, which gets exciting. The weather starts to cool down. As the athletic director, we've lots of exposure to lots of the athletic programs. I know, for example, that the girls' 8th grade volleyball team undefeated. Cross country and the other things that are going on. This week, our band competes for a state championship. They're going for a state championship. That's pretty amazing, and they've got a chance to go do it. And so that's we're all in it with them. I understand too that you might even be considering taking the football team in mass over to support the band. I thought that was a really cool thing. Talk a little bit about that. Well, they're there for us all the time, and so we want to make sure they understand we really are excited for them and proud of them. It's the Buckeyes. It's not a sectarian thing here. And I'm as excited for Eric and all the band directors and for Miss Witt and for Russell Thomas and those guys, all of them, and they tore it up down there at the Amberee, and all the awards and stuff they did this weekend. It was just amazing. So we're cheering for each other. And that's fun, and that's community. That's the way you want it. Well, Jamboree's Jamboree, it is every year, but it gives us a good reminder of who we are as a family, and the ability to do exactly that is to go succeed together. Right. But I thought it was a really cool thing when I heard that, we're loading up the football team to go watch the band win their state championship. Yeah. Wish them good luck. Absolutely. Now that we got Jamboree behind us, great time to be a Gilmer Buckeye. That's right. But it's almost trophy time, as the weather will change a little bit, and we will get into that mode of let's go do what we've been working so hard since August to do. Right. We're ready to take on these next 2 weeks, and we're going to do it one day at a time. I know that's what coaches say, but if you're a good coach, that's what you do. And so we want to take it one day at a time. We're going to come have a good Monday tomorrow. That's what our goal is going to be. And after that, we'll deal with Tuesday. Well, the last home game of the season coming up this Friday night. We need the Army of Buckeyes to show up for senior night. We'll have some new looks and some new faces, obviously, a lot of guys are going to get to play on Friday. Right. That's the goal. Yeah, and then going into trophy time, new stars get born, but more importantly, there's new roles as you continue to succeed that guys step up and fill. Right. And we look forward to that. We had a blast so far, and really looking forward to what's coming. So for myself, Todd Robinson, the head coach and athletic director of the Gilmer Buckeyes, Mr. Alan Metzel, we'll see you Friday night here against North Lamar. And then from there on in, folks, it's trophy time. See you then.